All right, Chris Popper here in Bangor, Matt Haney in Bar Harbor, and here we're taping this on August 31st, and you've had a couple days of teachers, staff, and faculty back in the building. How have things gone so far? And you've got another huge week.
We do have another huge week, and the thing about last week and this week is it feels so much more normal. It's the first thing that's felt at all normal since last March. Teachers and other educators are here in the building. They're working to get ready for students to come back, which is something that we do every year. Certainly, it's a different circumstance. If for no other reason, even if there wasn't a pandemic going on out there, it's really unusual for us to have been away from each other for 5.5 months.
Yeah.
Humans are creatures of habit, and teachers are no different than that. And most of us, some people went and did some other professions for a while, but most of us started school when we were 5 years old, and then we went through high school, and then we went to college, and then after college, we started a job where we went to school in September after a 2 to 2.5 month break. And this time, not that it was a break, but there was a long gap between when we were here together in March and then this past week. So it takes some adjustment, and it's just been so great to see people's faces, or half of their faces anyway, and to be in the same space and to be able to talk through our excitements and to be able to talk through our fears and our sadness and to be a community back together again has been amazing, challenging and amazing.
So MDI schools are going to start remotely on Tuesday, September 8th. Let's focus on the high school. How are you getting technological devices out to everyone?
We are going to, it's not just that, actually, we need to get textbooks and calculators. Well, I guess that's technological devices. Right. There's a lot of learning materials we need to get out to people. So what we're doing is putting together a bag for each student, and then we're setting up a pickup for Thursday and Friday this week. And as a matter of fact, I think families will have just gotten a message about how to sign up for that. That message is going out today about how to sign up for a time slot to come by on Thursday or Friday to pick up that bag. And so teachers will have had a chance to put materials into that. And of course, the laptop and all that will be in there. And that'll be starting the connection. It's hard to do remote learning if you can't connect with a digital device.
And that's a huge undertaking with the 400 and some bags to put together.
Yeah, it's actually about 550.
Okay.
So yes, it is. And so it's one of those things where I just feel really blessed to have a great team of people around me. We were talking about this, it was either last week or the week before, and people had some good ideas. And I realized that the ideas that other people had were better than my own. And I said, you know what?
That's a sign of a good administrator to say, you're better than mine.
You guys have got this. Let me know what you need from me, and I just really appreciate it. So that work has been really well orchestrated, and there'll be some bumps in the road, and still we have a good plan for getting those things out.
It sounds like in reading some stories from the Islander that the census, you're actually got more kids coming to school this coming year. Is that true, or?
I think you're talking about families who decided to stay instead of returning to wherever their typical year-round residence is.
Right.
I don't think we have a lot of students in that case here at the high school. And we have had a fair number of students register. Often we have a new student day in the end of August that typically we'll get a fair number. We had about 19, I think, or 20 students register that hadn't been registered when we closed up shop back in the spring. So that's always interesting. And this year it was a little more nerve-wracking than usual because we had planned out our class sizes pretty carefully. Right. But we did leave some spaces, so everybody that signed up got into the classes that they need. So we're excited to have anybody that we can get, and it is an awful great place to live and to go to school. So we're happy to have them.
Okay. One of the big issues is interscholastic activities. The MPA gave their blessing to sports, but obviously there's so much more that needs to go into this. The governor's office is weighing in, and then it's local control. What can you tell us where we are as of Monday at 1:10?
Yeah.
Because it changes and will change.
I mean, under normal circumstances, this would be terribly late to be making a decision about something that starts as early as next week. And we've kind of learned how to embrace that discomfort of not being 100% sure of where we stand until it would normally be way too late to make a decision like this. And we also understand that in order to try to be able to provide these incredibly important opportunities for students, we have to be patient in our decision-making process, because the quick answer would have to be no. And
for everything.
Right. And that's not what we want. And if that's where we end up, it will only be because we've exhausted every opportunity to try to figure out how to make things to mitigate the risks, so that the benefits, which are immense, outweigh the risks. What we will certainly do.
And let me just interrupt. You're a former collegiate baseball player. I mean, I don't know how many people know that, but you played at UMaine. So, I mean, sports, your children played sports, you've coached AYS. So, I mean, you're coming at this with I want the kids to participate safely attitude.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. Unlike to my core, I believe in extra and co-curricular activities as an equal part of a student's education to the things that happen in the classroom.
And let me just, so that way we're all encompassing this, when we're talking extracurricular, we're talking more than sports.
We are definitely talking more than sports. The things that the students get from participating in these activities are, yes, there's physical activity. Exercise is important, and you get exercise when you're on the stage. You get exercise when you're playing your instrument. I mean, it's those things, but it's the engaging in something that you're truly passionate about. It's the working together for a common goal. Understanding your role as a part of a bigger project. Those things are just the lifelong lessons. Without those lessons, I never would have wound up in a situation where I feel very blessed to be where I am in my life. I learned a lot in my classrooms from my teachers. I'm not discounting that at all. I could not have gotten here without that either. And the lessons that kids get from doing the things that they truly, truly love are the things they take away. So with that being said, I think we will certainly do everything we can to get students back into the activities that they love. That was one of the worst things about the spring, is that all stopped, everything.
Right.
And so we will do that, obviously, with our minds in the sense of, can we do this where the benefits outweigh the risks? And one thing that we can certainly commit to is that we will do it on an activity by activity basis. We're not going to decide, well, let's say that a fall musical with singing and dancing with 100 people on the stage at once sounds risky, so we're not going to do any activities at all. Or tackle football seems really risky, so we're not going to do golf. Just for example, we are going to take each of those activities and evaluate it on its own safety and its own merits, and make the decision that's best for all. And that may lead us to a circumstance where some students get to do the things they love, and some don't get to do them in exactly the way that they would hope. And we recognize that is not ideal. That is not what we're shooting for. And we are not in an ideal time right now.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah, the new normal is it just stinks. I mean, for what lack of a better word. Okay, so that is dealt with. what are we doing in terms of, well, obviously we don't have to worry about busing. What about a schedule now for next week? Has that been issued, or when is, or is that going to be on Friday? Everybody needs to know when they need to get up in the morning.
Yeah, well, I will tell the high school students they need to start getting up earlier than they are right now.
Yes.
Probably,
Yes.
although many of them have had summer jobs and have done a great job. There's something different about trying to wake up for school, I think.
And go to bed earlier. That's
Power down those devices before it's time to go to bed. That's
right.
my unsolicited advice there. But no, we are working on the schedule, and actually it does have to do with busing, because what we want to do is when we put the schedule out, we want the schedule to be the same when we go into this remote learning phase as it's going to be when we get into the hybrid phase, just for that consistency's sake. I had very much hoped that because of this unique time, we would be able to do something I've been trying to do for a long time, which is start high school later in the morning. We've been working very hard to get this back to a 9-ish o'clock start time, both remotely and when we come to a hybrid situation. And I am just about at the end of my bag of tricks to try to figure out how to make that happen. So it may be that we do go back to an 8 o'clock start, but what will happen is there'll be, whatever time we start, there'll be a block A in the morning, and then a short little time to go from one class to another, and then a block B, and those classes will be about an hour, maybe 65 minutes long. And then the morning students will go home, buses will go, bring the afternoon students back with a gap in between. Then we'll repeat that for C and D in the afternoon.
But remotely,
it's still going to be those same times. So what I will tell you, almost 100%, is that the afternoon classes will be something like noon to 1:05 and then 1:10 to 2:15. Something like that.
Something subject to change, right?
Yes. The morning time is either going to start at around 8 or at around 9.
Okay.
That's the thing. And honestly, Chris, it can't be Friday. I got to get that information out tomorrow. Right. And I'm just, like I said, I'm trying everything. I am doing the hardest I can to try to figure out the 9 o'clock start. And I think I'm getting close to the end of my ability to figure that out.
What else? What about food for students starting on Tuesday the 8th?
Yes. So students will be able to, and we're going to set up a method for them to do this, to sign up for these things. We'll be able to get food through our school nutrition program by signing up. We'll have a menu out. I don't know if it's going to be, it likely will be not an every day. We'll have enough food for all the days, but you wouldn't, like, it may be like we did back in the spring during the remote time, pick up once or twice a week.
Probably picking up in their towns. Is that how it's going to work, or is that
I think we're gonna do it here.
Okay.
Just again for that consistency of the same sort of thing once we get back to school, and then once we get students back into the building, we'll send them home with lunch and or breakfast, right, depending on what they sign up for.
Okay. All right. So. It's really important, though, that people are signing up for the free and reduced lunches.
Yes, definitely. Fill out that paperwork. You would have gotten from us both paper, I think, a way to request paperwork, and a link. If you don't have one or the other of those, you can contact the school, contact Wendy Littlefield, and she's our bookkeeper, and she's the one who helps with those applications. And that's really important. Because you can get free breakfast and free lunch that way if you qualify. So it's a help to you, and it also actually is a help to us when families do that. So it's mutually beneficial to fill that out if you think you may qualify. And again, I don't have the specifics on that, but Wendy's really good, and she can just talk you through the application process. You wouldn't necessarily talk about your own specific circumstances. That's what the form's for.
Okay. What else are we missing that people need to know prior to next week? Just flexibility again is the key.
Flexibility is, and also I guess the last thing is students and parents are going to start hearing from their teachers this week.
Okay.
So they'll know the teachers are using for their classroom modules, they're using Google Classroom. So teachers this week will be contacting they'll be contacting their students, and here's the sign into the Google Classroom. Here's how we're going to meet. Here are the links. That stuff will all start coming out. And so if you're a parent or a student and you haven't seen something like that from your teachers by the end of the week, I think it would be good to let us know.
Okay.
Just so we can put that in. I don't know if you know this. I think you do. My son is a freshman, incoming freshman this year, so it's been exciting for me.
No.
Yeah, it is. So it's fun for me to start seeing those things coming from that perspective.
That's important. That gives you that whole different look at it from the other angle, which is great.
I've talked a lot with most of the staff at different times just about the importance of empathy during this time, understanding where people are coming from and the challenges that you may be aware of and the challenges that you may not be aware of. And this is an empathy building exercise for me. I've worked here. I started working at this school a year before Jay was born. And so I've gone from not even being a parent to being a parent of a preschooler to being a parent of a kid in the K-8 school, and now a parent of a high school student. So my empathy is growing as time passes.
I'm sure. I guess two things we want to emphasize. One is grading will go back to normal starting September 8th.
It will.
And it will. So the old pass-fail that happened in the spring. And the other thing is that attendance is going to be taken. So especially during remote, if you're supposed to be a class, you best be a class.
That's right. You need to be there. Or I mean, there are always reasons why people have other things come up, and
more than as a rule. I mean, this is school.
Yeah, and if you're not going to be there, let us know, because first of all, that's just what you should do anyway. And always, in this particular case, we're going to be tracking people down who don't show up, not physically, but we're going to be. We need to know, like, if people aren't showing up and we don't know why, we're going to be very worried about that.
Right.
And so just let us know if something comes up, but do your best to be there, because that's the way we do well, is when we're actually present, whether that's digitally present or physically present.
Okay. I've appreciated this. Hopefully we can continue to do something as we go through the week, and if not Friday, maybe sometime next week, after a day or so of everybody's got a day or two of remote learning under their belts, and we'll go from there.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Chris.